When I look at my journals here, you see they all have these very fun dangles. This one actually has them on the bottom, which is also cute. And even looking at these above those that I just showed you, they all have at least, you know, one book charm. This one I made recently in a video. I will link that for you. That is an actual journal that you can open and has little Jane Austen pages inside. But then when we come to these, they don't all have one. So this one has one. This is Defemember 2022. This one will never get one because of the closure here. I don't think that will work. This one has potential, and this one definitely has potential. So today I want to make a dangle for this journal, which was my Defemember 2021. Which was my Defemember 2021 journal. And there's two types of beads or charms that I want to add to this dangle. So first of all, I want to add some of my own paper beads. And if you've never made paper beads, then no worries. I will show you here quickly how I make these. So I have some that are matte, like this. This is made from a book page, from this one to be exact. Then I have these smaller ones, which are glossy, which is from this book page, and they both came from a book that I got at my Goodwill for a couple of euros. Then I have these in a neutral tone, which came from this craft paper. I have these here, which are also matte, which are made out of this kind of a map paper. I have these regular matte green ones, which came from this paper, which is a wrapping paper from a Pepin book. So it's this one here. It's this Pepin series. You can find these on Amazon. These are the Japanese patterns. Here you can see all the patterns that are in this book. Then I have these tiny ones here, which are made from vintage music sheet. And I have these black and white ones, which came from this, which is also from the Pepin Japanese paper. So lots of options of papers you can use to make these. Of course, you can also use magazine pages. There's so much you can do. And then I wanted to try a special effect. You see it in all three of these. So I just added some embossing powder. So here's white, gold, and black sparkly embossing powder. And I think that makes them look very cool and grungy as well. So that's the one thing I want to add, because I wanted to add something that I made. And the other thing I wanted to add were some treasures from this vintage box. This is probably from the 70s, I'm guessing. And this was my mom's. My mom used to collect these from all around the world, wherever they traveled. And she used to hang these on book spines, but she didn't make charms like we would make junk journal charms. She probably would have if she would have known about them. But she just took individual charms and hung them like this onto a book. For example here, Jeffrey Pine, Yosemite. This was probably when we went there in the 1970s. Canadian leaf. I mean, there's all sorts of treasures here. There's also some Austrian ones. Oh yeah, I added this one from Egypt with the camels. There's everything here. Look at how cute these are. These are probably from Mexico, I'm guessing, when we were there. So lots to choose from. Lots of treasures. Again, Yosemite. Yosemite is amazing. Cute little horse that also looks Mexican, I would say. Cute Dutch house. More Dutch souvenirs. There's some state charms. What is this? Florida. There's an Austrian one. Zell am See. I know some of you have been there. On and on. So I want to use some of these, combine them with these, and I'll show you how to make these. I'll show you the fanciest version with the embossing powder. And I do this very simple. So I draw guidelines on the back of my paper because then I don't have to erase my pencil lines. So we need a slanted line to start off with, although you could also actually make a small paper bead out of this first strip. So then I just move my ruler, and depending on how large I want my paper bead to be, I will make the strip accordingly. So when we have a paper bead like this, this was the width of the strip that I cut. For these smaller ones, the strip was much smaller. So let's do a bigger one just because it's easier for you to see when I do it. So I draw it so that it has a tip on one end. And if I were to make more, I would simply then draw like this zigzag. That way I'm not wasting any paper. I don't measure, but of course you could measure that the distance is always the same here and here. I don't care about that, honestly. I would much rather just do this without measuring. So then we just need to cut out our triangular strips. I love these paper beads because you can make them out of anything, and all you need is any kind of paper, could even be newspaper, a toothpick or a skewer, and some glue. Okay, I have my strips here. I'm taking a toothpick. This is really so simple. And then I just roll up my piece of paper. Obviously, I pay attention that this side is the outside, if that's the design I want. And then I just start rolling. It helps to kind of, at the beginning, to kind of just move your toothpick like this to start the rolling. You don't need to glue at this point or anything. And then you just roll it. And then from time to time, I will add a little bit of glue. I don't even need to spread it out because it will automatically spread out when I keep rolling it. And now what I'm paying attention to is that I roll it so that the tip that I have here is always sort of centered. I don't want it going off to one side, so I always kind of keep an eye on that and straighten it a little bit if necessary. Then I'll add a bit more glue. Always making sure that I am centered. And you want to roll it tight. You don't want any gaps either. Add a bit more. That also strengthens your bead and it will make it harder by adding more glue in between. But anyway, we're going to cover it as well, so it's not a big problem. We just keep twisting it all the way till the end. Add some more glue here. And of course on the tip here it needs glue. And there's our paper bead. Isn't that simple? Let's make a little fat one as well. So this was the first strip that I cut off. Sometimes I find it easier to roll it on my table. Sometimes it's easier to just take it in my hand. Adding some glue. You could paint these as well if you just want to use like copy paper, if you have some leftover strips, and then just use acrylic paint. And the longer your paper strip is, the fatter your bead will be. And you can also double up your paper to make it more fat and round. I like the little fat round ones. So in no time at all, we have a little one and a bigger one. And then we need something like a styrofoam or some sort of packaging into which you can stick a toothpick. So I need 2 of them. And then I'm going to use my Heavy Gel Medium, which is glossy. Use Mod Podge if you have it. And I'll put my bead on that. I'll take a small brush and then I'll just apply that all over. So that seals everything in, it won't come undone, and it will strengthen it. When the glue has dried, they're totally hard like beads. And then we can add our embossing powder straight onto that. I'm going to use some gold embossing powder. This one is by Hero Arts. And I won't add it everywhere, I just, whoops, just want it in some areas. Cool, huh? I love this effect. And then we stick it in here to dry. And for the small one, I'll just put the varnish, not the varnish, the heavy gel, and leave it at that. I think it's too small. I mean, I could. Should I? Fine, I'll add some as well. So fun. And once these are dry, they are ready to go. The best way to attach these kind of beads is by putting it through either an eye pin, like I have here, which has a loop on one end, or I think these are called head pins. So instead of the loop, they just have like a flat head on one end. The difference is just that on the one with the loop, you could attach like another charm. So this is what they look like. But if you don't have anything like that, you could also just thread some twine through there. Don't talk, show. I would take my bead and put my thread through. I don't think I even need a needle. Like that. And then, well, what you could also do, if you're able to make a big enough knot, you could just have it dangling like that. That would be amazing. Let me try that, but the knot would have to be quite big. Or you're able to maybe thread through another bead, so you wouldn't have to make your knot so big. So I have a bead here, for example, but I will need a needle for that. And great, of course, are these big eye beading needles. But a regular needle will do as well, as long as it will fit through the bead. So I'll open this. Pretty much the whole needle is an open eye. And you just put your thread through. Like that. And then I can put my bead through. Bead here can sit on the bottom, and then the whole of the bead isn't that tall. Isn't that big, so the knot that you make doesn't have to be so big either. I'm not great at making knots. I know there's such cool ways to make knots. I have not mastered that skill yet. So I'm just going to try to put one knot on top of the other. Let's see if 2 is enough. Yeah, it's not. I can still pull it, so I'll need 3. Yeah, 3 is good. So now I can cut off this tail. Okay, so you don't even need the pins. This works perfectly. I like that. So here's my huge journal. This is the biggest journal I've ever made. So as I said, this is my Defemorember 2021 journal. If you're interested in a flip through, I will link that video for you below. But now we need to make a hole here in the spine, right up here. I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile. If you do not have one, you can try with a regular hole punch, or even an awl should work. I'm trying to put my Crop-A-Dile in between the signatures so that I can move in far enough. Like that. And if you have one, you can add an eyelet, but it's not a must. You can also do this without an eyelet. So first we're going to add our embroidery thread. I have 2 different colors here because I didn't have enough of the one color, but that's fine. I think both of these will work for this cover. And I took 4 strands and I folded them in half. You can take as many strands as you want. And now I'm going to take my tweezers and put this through the hole. And then just loop this through like you would put a ribbon on a tag or something. And now we can start adding our charms. And I need to add the others first so that I can then at the end thread on those paper beads. So I really like this little guy. He's so cute. I think the best way to attach him, because this here is not tied and it's kind of too small to make a knot for me, I think it's easier to just put it around his neck like that. Let's see if that will hold, and if so, I will just cut these off. So I just made a double knot. Yeah, this won't come off. Should be okay. So cut these 2 off. And I want to add this cute little wooden heart with the birds. So I'll take a new one, and this time I can just thread this through here. And again, decide what height I want it. Not the same as the horse. And then again, I'll just make a double knot. And I have to add one of these because that sound is just so adorable. This might be from South America somewhere. And there's this cutie. This one is from Austria. I should have made these a bit longer, I have a feeling, because you can always cut them off. This is another Austrian one. I want each strand to have one of these. So that means 8 in total. Ooh, that's only number 5 now. You could add buttons and beads and anything. Look at this one. A wooden nickel. Battle of Bunker Hill, June 17th, 1775, Charlestown, Massachusetts. I'm starting to get a feeling that I won't want to add my paper beads here. I think they're not going to work with these. Good planning, Barbara. I might have to make another charm with the paper beads. I see that happening. Because these are so cute on their own. I found the perfect last 2 editions. How cute are these 2 parrots? Oh my goodness. And they have loops. How cool is that? Yep, they will go on here. So this is the finished dangle. It's great as it is. I don't think the paper beads would fit to this style. Love having this here, lots of memories. You could cut the threads off if they bother you. Oh, I think my mom would be very happy with that dangle. So no paper bead dangle today, but now you know how to make the paper beads and you can make your own dangles. And if I make one, I will show you what that looks like. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.